What's happening, everyone? This is Rick here from healthybodiesandminds.com. Hope you all are staying healthy and sane. And today, in this video, we are going to be finding out the truth about green coffee beans. Whether or not green coffee beans or green coffee extract is really efficacious in weight loss. Now, I have personally seen hundreds and hundreds of videos and articles that always say that green coffee is more of a marketing thing and there is really no science behind it. Now, most of these videos and articles do, however, mention that green coffee beans can help you lose weight, but there isn't any scientific data available to help you understand its mode of action. And probably because of this lack of understanding, most of the times it's written off as an all marketing and no substance product that doesn't have anything to do with weight loss. Today in this video, I am going to analyze some data right in front of you and help you understand how green coffee bean extract works, if at all it works, the available scientific data on the subject, and finally, why it is not considered a trusted product. Let's get started. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I am going to go through the data that is available on the topic, and for that, instead of going through hundreds and hundreds of different papers published on different websites and university websites, I am actually going to go through a single paper that summarizes all the data from all this available information, and this paper is available on the National Library of Medicine website under National Institutes of Health. And this paper basically summarizes all the randomized clinical trials that have been conducted over the past 10 years. So I'm going to go through this data and then we are going to find out whether this product actually works, how good it is, and why is it that people don't tend to trust this product. So let's begin by looking at the eligibility criteria for all these different articles and different citations that have been used here. Now here you can see in this section here, the research produced 2160 hits. By hits, this actually means that they have done this research online. Now all of this 2160 hits actually comprises all the data that is available on this topic. Now, after accumulating all that data, they had to exclude 328 articles because they were duplicate citations, and 767 articles were abandoned because of wrong titles and abstracts. 598 of them were excluded because they did not investigate food supplements, and 454 articles were excluded due to no report on clinical outcome. And once again, 13 articles were excluded due to unsuitable study design. So after all of this, they basically could find only 3 research papers that can be considered acceptable. Now, this is a very important point here. What you need to understand here is, even though a lot of research supposedly has been done on this topic and a lot of data is available, not all of the data is acceptable to the science community because of flawed parameters in the subjects that were chosen for these trials. And then not all of these trials were double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized studies. So that's one important aspect. It's important to have double-blind, randomized studies, placebo-controlled randomized studies, so that the data that you have does not get influenced by the placebo effect and mental effects of the subjects themselves. Now, after all of this data crunching, the NLM could narrow it down to just 3 studies that can be considered acceptable. Now, here is my first point. Because of the fact that there isn't a lot of acceptable data available on this topic, people do not understand how this thing actually works, how this thing actually contributes towards the weight loss thing. And this lack of information renders this product unusable in most cases. People don't think it's safe, people don't think it's going to work, and consider it a waste of money. But the problem isn't in the fact that the research is not there. The research is there, but the methods of these research and the way the data is put out, that is flawed. Okay, some key elements are just missing, and that is the reason why not a lot of information is available on this topic. However, we are going to take a look at the 3 trials that the NLM considers to be eligible, and we are going to find out what that data actually means. So here I'm going to skip down to this chart here that basically shows the summary of all the 3 trials here. Now, before I get into this, I also need to tell you that One of these studies was actually funded by a company called GlaxoSmithKline. Now, you people already would probably know what that company stands for. That company is in the business of pharmaceutical products and medicines. And because of this fact that they have actually funded this study, many people tend to think that the results are probably not unbiased. Now, you have to understand something. The general mass, the general public that buys medicine, prescription drugs, and over-the-counter products, this general mass does not usually go through studies before buying something. Okay, but someone who does might actually go ahead and tell people that, hey, people, this study was actually funded by a corporate who also has a business in the same niche. And when you say that to people, I mean, it's super easy to scare people away from this product. People get easily scared because they don't want to trust a study that was funded by a company that also has a business in the same niche, if you know what I mean. But in reality, what should have been done is the results should have been brought out and published more widely, and people should have known about the results more clearly rather than the fact that one of these studies was actually uh, paid for by GlaxoSmithKline. Now, I can tell you this, since I've been doing this for a long, long time, in this specific study, in this specific instance, Glaxo didn't actually have anything to say regarding the methods, regarding the results, regarding whatever data was being published. So, Glaxo only paid for the research. They did not poke their nose in as far as the results are concerned. So, it's not a biased result that we're seeing here. The results are completely unbiased, but the presentation, the representation of this entire thing in front of the general mass has not been done correctly. Now, that is a tragedy that we need to deal with. The reason I'm saying all of this is green coffee beans are not very expensive. Now, there are a lot of expensive things floating out there, and people are buying them. People are getting scammed. Their credit cards are getting charged. I have done several videos on those things as well. People are desperate to lose weight, and they would not hesitate to pull out their credit cards at the drop of a hat. If they see something that looks promising, they would spend money. But those things are expensive. Many of these things are expensive. In comparison, green coffee beans or green coffee extract isn't that expensive. It's easily available, and many people can actually benefit from this. And probably that is the reason why a lot of the competitors are behind this. A lot of the competitors are actually misrepresenting the data in front of the general public. So that needs to be stopped. Now, with that out of the way, let's now go take a look at the results from the 3 trials that the NLM considers to be eligible. So this is basically table number 2, and you can see this URL here. You can go and check this out yourself as well. Now, I'm going to go through this data, and I'm going to help you understand what this data actually means. First of all, this says that the results are from RCTs. RCTs, this actually stands for randomized controlled trials. What this means is when you have a group, let's say for instance, in the first one here, they have a group of participants, which is 62, and then 30 and 50. So when you have a group of like 50 participants, this is basically going to be divided into 2 different groups. And each group is going to have 25 different members. One group is going to receive placebo, which is basically nothing. It doesn't have the active ingredient or the active drug. And the second group is actually going to receive the actual medicine or the active drug. Now, both of these groups, now since this is a randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind trial, so none of these groups actually know what they are receiving. And that actually has an impact on the results. Because when a person knows that he's actually receiving placebo, the results get influenced. But if the person receives a placebo but he doesn't know about it, he thinks that he's actually receiving the active drug, then the results are more unbiased. So that is what happened in these trials. All of these are double-blind placebo-controlled trials. So in the first trial, here we can see that an administration of 180 milligrams per day, a dosage of 180 milligrams per day resulted in, over a period of 4 weeks, resulted in a mean weight loss of around 1 kilograms, 1.35 plus minus 0.81, which is close to around maybe 1 kilograms. So that isn't very substantial. But then when you go to the second one here, after 12 weeks, this shows that the resultant weight loss is close to 5.5 kilograms, which is really, really substantial. And then again, in the third one, you can see this is again close to here also 12 weeks. Here also you can see that the resultant weight loss is around 5 kilograms. Now, these three trials clearly point to the fact that green coffee beans or green coffee extract, as you can see here, that is green coffee extract, has actually a role to play in weight loss. Now, the other thing that you need to understand here is CGA. Well, CGA actually stands for chlorogenic acid. Now, chlorogenic acid is actually the main active ingredient inside green coffee beans or green coffee extract. So that is what is doing all this magic. Now, that's what this data is all about. You use it for up to 12 weeks, and with a dose of around 180 to 200 milligrams a day, you can easily lose close to 5 or 5.5 kilograms. So the results clearly indicate that CGA can promote weight loss. The problem is there isn't a lot of understanding behind its mode of action, and that is what makes it seemingly unreliable and even unsafe to some people. When you don't have a lot of data, people don't consider it safe. Now, I'm going to try and explain how this actually promotes weight loss. How does it work? Please be advised that this is my personal educated opinion and should never be considered a replacement for real published scientific research data. I personally think the weight loss is facilitated via reduction in the absorption of glucose in the intestine, a mechanism which is achieved by promoting dispersal of the sodium electrochemical gradient. This dispersal further leads to an influx of glucose into the enterocytes. Now, okay, that might sound medical jargon to people who don't study medicine, so I'm going to try and break it down for you. Try to help you understand what it actually is. You see, there is something called active transport at the cellular level inside your body, which essentially means movement of any substance across a cell membrane against its concentration gradient, meaning from low concentration to high concentration, movement from low concentration to high concentration. And this is facilitated by ATP conversion. ATP is again adenosine triphosphate. You don't need to get into that. And this happens because of an electrochemical gradient, which is actually the difference in electric charges and chemical concentration across a membrane. You know, chemistry 101, ions with positive and negative charges. So a gradient develops when there's an imbalance in charges and substances start flowing from low to higher concentration. Now, in the case of green coffee beans, the active ingredient is chlorogenic acid. And this reduces the transport capacity of glucose by 80%, meaning 80% less absorption of glucose happens in the intestine, and that is what is causing weight loss. If you take green coffee beans, your glucose absorption from food is reduced by 80%, promoting the body to start burning stored adipose fat reserves, and that is what makes you lose weight. So green coffee beans and coffee beans extract, it's really not that bad. It's a good product and it does help with weight loss. If you study the properties of chlorogenic acid and you understand how this actually works, you will know that this all boils down to lower absorption of glucose in the intestines. The problem is, there aren't published studies available linking reduction of glucose intake with chlorogenic acid, even though it's known to be one of the properties. And until those studies come out, green coffee beans will have to keep struggling to make a dent in the weight loss market. It all boils down to what published material is available right now. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of that at the moment. And that is what is causing this excellent product to fail. So, there's nothing that we can do right now, but from my personal opinion, I can say that green coffee bean extracts actually work. They actually promote weight loss, and it wouldn't be harmful to give it a try. But then again, this is my personal opinion, and you should always consult a doctor or a dietitian before doing so. This is Rick here signing off for now. I'll see you again in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments below what you think about green coffee bean extracts. Thank you.